So just when we thought we had a good idea of what to expect with the iPad 10, MySmartPrice gives us these very interesting CADs that have kinda confused me, so let's delve into it. Now over the last few weeks we've been led to believe the new base iPad is gonna be a revised version of the iPad Air 4 but with thicker bezels. Now this made sense because there were many reports regarding this iPad getting the USB-C port, and obviously right now Apple Pencil 1 charges through the Lightning port, and so removing that means this iPad is getting Apple Pencil 2 support, and for that to happen we need flat sides on this iPad so that you can connect the pencil magnetically to the iPad. And so that's why I was pretty confident Apple was going to recycle the iPad Air 4 design, because we've had the iPad Air 1 inspired design for years, and so it's time for a change with an iPad Air 4 design but with thicker bezels, since Apple does often use thicker bezels to make their cheaper devices look worse. And so that was that, but now we have MySmartPrice giving us these CADs that tell us a completely different story. So essentially MySmartPrice believes this iPad 10 is going to be a hybrid between the iPad Pro design language and today's base iPads. And so that means the front is going to have the home button and the forehead and chin, but the sides and the back of the device is going to be flat like the iPad Pros. Now I did mention this could be a possibility in previous videos, but I thought this would not happen because Apple rarely redesigns their base products. They always recycle older designs and give them minor changes, and so this would go against that, since this is technically a new design that of course could be more expensive to make. However, a good friend of the channel, Michael, did suggest Apple could actually be reusing the iPad Air chassis, but of course replacing the display on top with something more similar to the other base iPads, since display assembly and chassis assembly are separate. And so yes, Apple basically recycling iPad Air 4 chassis but replacing the display on top. Yeah, that could make sense. However, that's where things get very confusing, because MySmartPrice believes the dimensions of this base iPad is going to be 248.62mm by 179.50mm by 6.98mm. And focusing on the length and the width, that's actually taller and wider than the iPad Pro 11-inch and the iPad Air, so this would not be that chassis and instead is a completely different chassis that of course is going to be more expensive to make. So yes, I'm really not sure about this information. And also do remember that this iPad being taller and wider means this won't work with the Magic Keyboards and all the 11-inch accessories, and that again makes no sense. And also because of the wider design, Apple seems to be giving us thicker side bezels, which again, I just don't see Apple doing. That would be a downgrade over the current design. So yeah, this just makes no sense. And the report continues to get confusing because they say this base iPad is gonna get quad speakers. Now yes, I would love to see this happen, but of course, it would make no sense. The iPad Air Mini do not have this, only the Pros have quad speakers, and so why would Apple give that to the base iPad? What I'm thinking is that MySmartPrice saw the 4 speaker arrays and thought, hey, that means quad speakers, but also do remember the iPad Air also has 4 speaker arrays, but only 2 of them produce any audio, so yeah, I guess this means we could see a stereo effect coming to the speakers for this base iPad. But anyways, coming back to the confusing tidbits, let's talk about the camera, because MySmartPrice says we're going to see this new pill-shaped cutout on the back that's going to house a single camera but also a flash and the microphone. Now this also makes no sense because the iPad Air does not have a flash, and so I doubt the base iPad's gonna get it. Now yes, to be fair, the iPad mini that's cheaper than the Air also has the LED flash, but personally I think it's very unlikely the base iPad gets this. And actually, this whole pill-shaped cutout is a pretty interesting design element that does not fit with the rest of the iPad range, since of course, the iPad Air and the iPad mini that have single cameras have just one cutout for the camera on the back. And so why is Apple going through the process of redesigning and also retooling the back of the base iPads when they could just go for a simple, cheaper camera layout. And also I do think for general consumers, a pill chip cutout that's black on the back of the iPads could make some think that there's a better camera system on the back of this compared to the iPad Air 5, and that again makes no sense. Oh, and by the way, for fans of the headphone jack, it is nowhere to be seen with these CADs, and that does make sense because most Apple consumers have AirPods. So yes, I'm still very confused about all of this, especially with the dimensions, because the whole point of Apple giving us flat sides with this iPad is not only for Apple Pencil 2 support, but also support for accessories like the Magic Keyboards, which are a lot better than the smart keyboards the current base iPad has. But with the dimensions being wacky for this base iPad, this will not be compatible with those accessories and also the older smart keyboards. And while for students that buy this base iPad, I'm sure they want a keyboard that connects to it, and I doubt that Apple's going to give us a Magic Keyboard that only works with this base iPad. That would massively increase the R&D costs for this iPad, and also do remember that Apple could not be asked to give the iPad Air 5 its separate Magic Keyboards, even with a different camera bump on the back. And so yeah, once again, I'm just confused by all of this. And yes, I know some could argue that of course, it's a very small difference, and so it might be close enough to fit with the Magic Keyboards. But do remember that Apple did redesign the Magic Keyboard for the 12.9-inch size just because of a small dimensions increase due to the mini LED display inside. And so yeah, again, I do still have my doubts over these dimensions and this report. And by the way, forgot to mention this earlier, but MySmartPrice is actually 100% accurate, and so that's why I'm so puzzled by this, because it's coming from a credible source, but some of it makes no sense. Really, the only part of this leak that actually makes sense is the USB-C port coming to this. That has been corroborated by other sources, and we should also see the A14 chip in this and 5G support. And for those wondering if the display is going to be laminated, I unfortunately don't think that's going to be the case, because those pretty sus dimensions also tell us it's going to be a lot thicker than the iPad Air. So yeah, that most likely is because the display's not laminated, which does kind of suck. And by the way, if this does somehow pan out, then this technically being a new design does mean the price is most likely going to increase, and personally I see this being $399. Now before this report, when I thought this was going to be an iPad Air 4 with thicker bezels, I thought this would be a pretty good deal because you're getting a bigger display that's laminated, Apple Pencil 2 supports, compatibility with the Magic Keyboards, and also the USB-C port. And so for those who could not care about the M1 exclusive features with iPadOS, this base iPad at $400 would be terrific. However, now of course, after hearing about this report, it is going to be harder to justify this price hike because the display is going to remain the same for the most part. It's not laminated, it might not get compatibility with the Magic Keyboards, and so you're paying extra for this redesign of sorts that has some odd compromises. Oh, and also for those worried about the price hike, I do think the iPad 9 is going to stay in the range at $299 for consumers, not just education, so yeah, that could be a pretty great deal for those who do not care about the new design. So yeah, personally, I still have my doubts over this report, but of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Anyways, thank you for watching guys, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumours. Check out the link above on details regarding the iPad Pro M2, and on that note, see ya peeps.